has always had this big fascination with the lone lawman or the sheriff. Be it that he's a gruff dude who shoots the bad guys and saves the good whole nature of their town. Well, this story is on a person who's exactly none of that. This is the story of Joe Arpaio, the controversial Arizona sheriff who decided to say to every single Latino, let's lock you up, put you in a prison that you can't survive in, and let's sue anybody that tells me otherwise. This is in layman's terms. Joe Arpaio is the former sheriff of Maricopa County in Arizona. In late August of this year, Trump issued a pardon for Arpaio, who loves to call himself the toughest sheriff in America. Arpaio is known for his hardline values towards criminals, but ever since he started as sheriff of Maricopa County, Arpaio's police department has been accused with numerous accusations of abuse of power, closing cases, and unethical treatment of immigrants. To put it simply, Joe Arpaio is one deeply unpleasant human being, and to start the story of his laundry list of crimes, let's look at one of his big ones, Tent City. In 1993, Maricopa County had a problem. Its jail is filled to the brim and more are being brought in. In response, instead of opening another section of the jail, Arpaio opened a tent city. Essentially, it looks like this, a series of tents outside, surrounded by barbed wire fencing and placed next to the prison itself, complete with watchtower. The problem was the conditions. It gets hot in Arizona, especially during the summer. In 2011, when temperatures hit 110 degrees Fahrenheit in Phoenix, temperatures in the tents went all the way up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's not all. Not only did inmates complain that the fans were not working, they also noted that their shoes started to literally melt due to the heat. One person was found dead due to how hot the conditions were. In other words, Tent City is essentially a giant American concentration camp. But don't just hear it from me. This is Joe Arpaio up and admitting it.
Sheriff Joe, I was just wondering, since illegals keep re-entering, you can drop them off and they keep coming back in, are you or do you plan on using some of these concentration camps to hold them because they keep re-entering and killing us?
Well,
Sheriff Joe,
I already have it.
my dad told me that if I didn't improve at school, he was going to send me to a concentration camp. And I got my concentration real quick.
I already have a concentration camp.
Andy, you going to cover me on his too? It's called Tent City.
I'm just getting started, because while Joe Arpaio calls himself the toughest sheriff in America, apparently he's not actually all that good at doing his job, oddly enough. For example, there's this thing in cop lingo called cleared by exception. What it means is essentially that if a case becomes impossible to solve, like say the prime suspect is dead or a key piece of evidence has been destroyed, the cops will call it cleared by exception. It's mostly supposed to be used in these off cases, like very rarely it's supposed to happen. However, as you can imagine, Joe Arpaio up and abused this. In an interview with ABC's Nightline concluded that out of 7,346 crimes, 944 of which were cleared by someone actually getting arrested. To put that mathematically, that's a 15% return rate. Imagine it like this. You order a pizza, right? You get the pizza, you open up the box, only to find that 85% of the pizza has been eaten by the delivery man. And this thing gets worse. Out of that 7,000 figure I just mentioned, 400 of which were sex crimes that happened over the span of 3 years. If there's anything that Joe Arpaio loves more than anything, it's publicity. At one point, he forced all of his prisoners to wear pink underwear. In another, he created a posse of police volunteers that would help the county in enforcing immigration law, which included, and this is true, Lou Ferrigno, the former actor who played the Incredible Hulk, and actor Steven Seagal. Yet this behavior ranged from silly to downright heartless. This is James Savelle. In 1999, he was arrested by undercover members of the MCPD for allegedly planning to assassinate Arpaio with a pipe bomb. Savelle denied all allegations and was held in prison awaiting trial for 4 years. That is, until a former investigator of the MCPD reviewed his case and told Savelle that he had been entrapped. The case goes all the way up to the Arizona Superior Court, which ruled that the whole thing was a publicity stunt. Why? Because at the time the date was almost 2000, and that was an election year. I could go on and on about how many crimes Joe Arpaio has committed. For example, he's been accused of misspending $100 million of taxpayer money on vacations, ski resorts, and trips to Disneyland. I can tell you that he and his posse got together and all collectively stated that Obama's birth certificate was a forgery. And even better, I can tell you that he partnered up with a former district attorney And he and that district attorney went after many different of the clerks and lawyers and judges of Maricopa County, all accusing them of corruption charges. Needless to say, Arpaio lost every one of those lawsuits, and he had to pay in settlements up to $44 million of taxpayer money. The big problem with all of this is that Joe Arpaio, out of all of the crimes I've just committed, not been convicted of one. Why do you think I said that America has a fascination with sheriffs? However, there is one aspect that did get Joe Arpaio in hot water, and that's racial profiling. Okay, get this. In 2005, he started specifically targeting the Latino communities. He would set up very specific patrols around Latino neighborhoods, he would hunt down businesses that hired Latino people, and he did something called saturation patrols, which basically he got every one of his volunteers, his posse, and his members of his police department together, hounded off specific roads, and waited like pit vipers to strike at any Latino that's driving by. Needless to say, this did not go over well. This came to a head in 2007 when one Mexican tourist got arrested and put in jail for 9 hours straight. Needless to say, that Mexican tourist sued the county. That lawsuit was the start. More people joined in, with the cases being handled from the American Civil Liberties Union, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and the law firm Covington & Burling. The case was heard by District Judge G. Murray Snow, who ruled that Arpaio was using illegal racial profiling to enforce his own sense of justice. In 2011, Snow ballooned the case into a class action lawsuit, covering every person that Arpaio and his department had stopped since 2007, and warning Arpaio to stop these acts. A year later, the Department of Justice files its own motion against Arpaio, using the same allegations from the class action lawsuit. Arpaio did not take this well. He appealed the case to the 9th District, but secretly, he also launched an investigation against the Department of Justice and Judge Snow himself. Dubbed the Seattle Operation, officers of the MCPD were looking into Judge Snow, his wife, and even Attorney General Eric Holder. Arpaio even went a step further, not only trying to repeal the decision by Snow, but also trying to remove Snow from the case. In September of 2015, the district court held to the lower court decision and refused to take Snow off it. I must add that throughout all of this, Joe Arpaio did not listen to the court at all, and basically kept up his racial profiling. Judge Snow got arguably mad, and basically hit him with a contempt of court charge when Arpaio refused to stop. Well, of course, this thing goes back and forth between Arpaio and Snow, until just recently, July 31st of 2017, Arpaio was actually convicted and declared guilty of contempt of court. Of course, you kinda know where this story ends. Donald Trump turns around and pardons him, which is not only a giant slap to the face of every single person in the Latino community, but it's basically a giant go-ahead for every single cop that wants to follow Arpaio's policies. I do want to end this story on a good note. Joe Arpaio is no longer the sheriff of Maricopa County, and his replacement has actually decided to close down Tent City. Yay! However, there's still a lot of work to be done before all of the things that Joe Arpaio has committed is finally cleared. And I do, however, have one more piece of good news. As of the time of this recording, not one, not two, but 4 Arizona law firms are actually trying to challenge the pardon in court, arguing that it wasn't constitutionally based, because of Donald Trump interfering with the Department of Justice investigation. If that passes, well, this might be the first time that a federal pardon can be overturned, if that's even ever possible. No one's ever tried that. Well, we'll just have to remain to be seen. My name is Max Malik, this is In Layman's Terms, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.